Many times in my life I feel like I've had to be stronger than a person should have to be. Even when I was young and still a child, there are different times that stand out in my memory of almost unbearable pain. Pain that I didn't have anybody to console me or, be there for me emotionally. Still don't. Of course, I'm quite grown at 47, but I don't live in overwhelm like I did for so many years when I was under such oppression in the marriage. And now I know I was under a lot of dark magic. Those kind of things I probably didn't quite fully believe in, but I certainly didn't expect them to be being done to me by loved ones. Some things we can just think of as somewhere far out there being done by some bad people. You don't realize it's right in your own home. It's hard when you don't have emotional support. Even before I would have had my spiritual awakening, I feel I've always had quite a bit of emotional maturity because of some of the things that I've been through. I do remember being quite angry as a young parent of my two oldest children when they were both young. I would have felt quite convicted at times when I had lost my temper with them, and I would have apologized, and through the years I grew in maturity and really, at least by and large, worked through a lot of the anger that I had from things that I would have foreseen. I would have seen it as more like daddy wounds. I never knew until in the last year that I inevitably had as many mother wounds as I did daddy wounds, because I always thought my mom was innocent, although not very loving. It's hard when you don't have any support, and right now the only support that I believe I have is in the spiritual realm. I would say more like guides, ancestors, guides, spirit. I really kind of shy away from the word and term God now. It's so hard to get past the whole idea of one man, kind of like, daddy in the sky, kind of from the Bible. And when people say God, at least in our culture, I would feel most of them do mean something along the lines having to do with the Bible, even if they're pretty far detached from that and aren't a radical Christian the way I had become. But, most people have friends of some sort, and I would say I've had fake friends through the years, but I have really just faced more rejection in my life as a child, teen, and adult, which, really gets you questioning, kind of like along the lines of, well, what's wrong with me? Must be me, because nobody likes me or nobody wants to spend time with me. But, you see maybe other moms at a homeschool group or other Christians conversing after, the Sunday service or whatever, and I'm not near as needy as I once was, but I think that we are made more like lions. We are meant to be, communal and have relationships and I don't think that means you're codependent because you desire to have relationships. I actually don't think I was really codependent. I think abuse, someone who's being abused can mimic the symptoms or signs of codependency, but it's actually the abuser that's dependent on the one they're abusing and that's taking from them. Especially now that I know about like energy harvesting, really just taking the personhood away by control. Still, there's definitely a part of me that, you know, a nerve gets struck sometimes where I'm like, it kind of hits me like, it's a little lonesome. Or, I really kind of would be glad when X, Y, or Z happens and some of this heaviness around me lifts and some of these hidden lies come out and justice and judgment is tangible and not just something that I keep wishfully thinking is going to manifest itself any day now. And I think I'm incredibly strong, incredibly underestimated, and I know that I have a lot to offer anybody who I would have enter my life, whether it would be just friends or a special person to, build a life with. And I know that I'm deserving of those things. Sometimes it is hard to not feel like, why me? Why is this, and that? I remember feeling that very much when my son Ethan was, I know now he was murdered, but I certainly didn't know that then, and it was hard enough dealing with it, thinking that it was an accident, or late term miscarriages, like my son Ruben, which I also believe that was an effect of black magic from my husband and others as well. Just ways to further energy harvest off of me. But I would desire community. I would desire to have people in my life that, aren't tearing me down and aren't there to try to take from me. Although I always offer so much. So I think reciprocated friendships and whatever special relationship in my future will be very welcomed and long overdue.